Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're going to wait a few minutes. We've got a big audience today, so we're going to give a few minutes for others to join. But if you're on, um, maybe you can type in your plans for Thanksgiving. Are you going to be traveling or hosting somewhere? And thank you all for joining. I'm Jill Schroeder from Sage. If you don't know me, I'm the president of Sage, and we are excited to bring you yet another Tech Talk with Tazergy. So it's a collaboration, and I think it's a well-needed collaboration. We can never stop talking about technology. So it's the senior living version of a TED Talk, if you've ever seen a TED Talk. Oh, Dina. Hi, Dina. 20 people. That is crazy. I mean, not crazy. That's really good. That's more than I'm hosting. So give a few more minutes. Yes, you are brave. Let's give a few more minutes of people logging in. It just seems to be the thing to do these days when people are coming from one meeting onto a next, and we want to make sure everybody's logged into here. And while we're waiting, I might as well say, as I said, I'm Jill Schroeder, and I am from Hudson, Wisconsin, calling in from the beautiful, gorgeous Midwest. It's not snowing yet, but it already has snowed for the season here, so it's cold. But now we don't have any snow, so it's good. And I live out in the country, so some of you might see me on Instagram or post pictures of my home, but I'm excited to talk about tech today with Matt. All right. I think that's enough minutes. Let's see, Lori, does everyone look like everyone's signed in? Oh, not really. Let's wait a few more minutes. I could sing for you all if that's what would be nice, but you are recording this, so I'm not sure if I want that kept forever. Go ahead and start. All right, I'm starting. Okay, so as I said, this is the senior living technology version of TED Talks, and it's Tech Talk with Sage and Tazergy. And we are so excited to bring this to you as another extension of part of education through Sage. Because technology is always a subject that I feel and we all feel is lacking or forgotten about. It needs to be talked about because it is a challenging, kind of scary subject to some. So I've told you who I am. And I was kind of hoping that Matt would appear on the screen, and I'm not sure if he's here. He comes. Matt,
Hello.
hi.
Happy to be here.
Welcome. You want to tell
Yeah.
everyone about yourself and
Matt Haywood, CEO, founder, and what did I say? CEO and founder of Tazergy,
nice.
chief cheerleader. Tazergy is a senior living focused design consulting firm, which also offers implementation of certain systems and solutions and ongoing support of those systems. So thank you for having
Excellent.
us.
Ex we love having you. So today's topic is flex spaces. And what are some of the areas we're going to be talking about, Matt, on the flex spaces?
Well, I think we have a few areas. It really, to me, a flex space throughout senior living is anywhere that you want to do something for is more than one purpose. That could be a private dining room and a mini conference room. It could be a multi-purpose room theater. It could be a fitness area and activities area.
Yeah,
Um, Really, it's it's flex for a reason.
absolutely. In the flex spaces, I'm also thinking of audio or the theaters and the movie theater versus a music room, etc. So we'll talk about that. If you've
Yeah.
attended our past Tech Talks in the past, you'll notice we are trying something new. We tried it last time. In this time, we're running with no prepared slides, and we want it to be conversational. There's a large group on today. We we are not going to wait till the end of the session to answer questions. So if you have questions, just type them in right away and we'll address them. Just click on that Q&A button on the upper part of your screen and we'll address them right away. No hesitation and no slides, so you can see our faces. Okay,
Got
so
you, Stump Us.
let's start talking about flex spaces and um, harnessing the intended use of the space. Matt, what have you got for advice on this?
Well, really, when you asked what would I define as a flex space, I
Yeah,
really turn to the architect and I say, you tell us.
yeah,
You've got a community, and you're designing this community, and it's either X dollars per square foot to construct. So from a technologist's standpoint, we're saying, well, one way is you can't build more space. How do you reuse existing space
right,
for more programming, right? If
right.
if a room's sitting dead and empty. So that's really, we draw from where the architects are kind of crafting that. So when we were talking about this topic, that's one of the things that I really felt lended itself to a bit more dynamic um, opportunity for this industry,
Mhm.
was really to say to the architects, I know that in general the goal is to try and achieve that. I think that sometimes it's often done with like a flexible wall, or I guess it's done lightly, and it doesn't. I think in order to truly capture a flex space, we need to really think holistically around the whole space about what your intended use is,
Right.
and start pairing it with some tech stuff.
Right. I've seen or we've had many challenges in renovation, especially with this topic, because you've got a very, very tight footprint and you need to have many spaces be flexible on their use, which can be a danger in this new technology with old technology or lack thereof. And then in new construction, we used to be able to, in our recent past, be able to really accommodate a number of spaces in our planning. But as of late, we keep getting tighter and tighter and tighter with that square footage, and so we really need to have very flexible spaces in these. I don't even want to say auditoriums, but
Right?
any space, fitness, a
Any
wellness,
space, right?
anything, a classroom. So advice, talking up front, some thoughts that we encounter. Um, thoughts,
I mean,
open
just
thoughts, Matt.
from a
Yeah.
programming standpoint, I mean, think about the I think that it's exciting to be able to equip community with multiple flex spaces, instead
Yeah.
of saying, oh, we have one space and we can multi. It can either be used for a a showing like a movie, or
Yeah.
we can use it for a meeting. Okay, well, what if we take all of our common area spaces and looked at them? And I say all, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about the sitting areas in the hallways, right?
Right.
At the ends of corridors, but um, what if we were to harness that and say, okay, what spaces could be flex, and start looking about what the intended uses can be, so that a community has the ability to pivot as needed, depending upon group size, depending upon programming, depending upon what other times of year are going on,
Yeah.
right? Because I totally agree with you. The sites, the land isn't getting cheaper,
No.
right? They're getting tighter. So we squish it, we compress it, we go vertical, and if we keep doing the same thing, hoping for different results, it I think the definition of that is insanity. But I mean, I am a little crazy myself, but um, anyways, that's what's exciting for me, is as we sit down and we talk with design teams and operators, these it all comes from talking about the intended use of the space. Earlier today, I was talking with my dad about he's like, just called me and said, hey, for our church, we need to do this, like, can I just go buy a TV? We have a projector. And I'm like, hold on. What are you
Yeah.
trying to do in the space? Like, what
Yeah.
do you want to do in there that you can't do today? And these are some of the questions and things that I think need to be thought through, because it's not just about buying the stuff. It's
Right.
about making it work. It's
Yeah.
about it's about how you're going to program and making sure that you understand the people that are going to be using and filling that space can use it. And I think that's from an architect's perspective. Generally, it's like you just by being in the space, people are using the space that architects are designing,
Yeah.
right? And from a technology standpoint, it's not just being in the space, it's interacting with the space.
Yeah. So I think architects and planners planning those spaces, what you're saying is to have early conversations about realistic and specific uses that are more practical for that space, whether it's a wellness classroom, what could happen in that for both sound, music playing, that kind of thing, or if there's a speech, a microphone connection, or any other controls that need to be that are very relevant for that space that makes sense. However, I want to talk about planning of a physical space when that's a trigger for a new
Mm,
because of technology. For example, and I mentioned it earlier, it's just a pet peeve that we have is a theater being controlled for acoustics to have theater-like sound with rear speakers, etc., and then also have it be a flex space for a solo performance or a live performance, when really those acoustic needs and those controls
right.
are completely opposite. So, in that
That's
case, yeah, sorry, Matt.
no, no, that's an excellent point for sure. We've done renovations of existing communities that had
Yeah,
auditoriums that had that specific thing. They had a set of speakers for, and I say speakers, I'm talking about not people who are
right.
speaking, but actually the speakers that are playing that amplified sound. They had set speakers for speaking. They
Yeah,
had set speakers for performances, and then they had another set of speakers, I believe, for presentations, something that was going to be streaming or being shown on a screen.
right.
That's just complicated to use, even for an AV expert.
It is. I'm thinking also too, in the cases where there is maybe some square footage available and they know they're going to have live performance and theater or movies, I'm thinking, is there other technology needs that could be incorporated into maybe music practice rooms so
Mhm.
that these musicians, a guitarist or a saxophone player that lives in this community could have a sound isolated space with similar technology that is being used in the larger room, but it's more specific and they can have some practice space where they're not conflicting constantly with what's going on in that room.
Right. So just
What's there?
that example, Jill, no, agreed. It's actually just shifting the perspective a bit. Instead of saying, hey, we've got this space, we need to do X and Y with it.
Yeah,
We're saying, hey, what do you need to do?
yeah,
Right. So even for the example of the auditorium that
yep,
we helped this community redo, they said, well, we want to be able to stream video,
yeah,
and broadcast it. And we're like, okay, but you don't seem happy with the whole thing. Like we had to step
right,
through and say, what is it you want? Let's define that. So I
yeah,
think if we're talking about a renovation sort of
yeah,
recap is one set of conversation versus a new community, right? So if we're just
right,
talking about a renovation and expansion these days, because I have heard that lending rates aren't exactly aggressive these days, and has
right.
so
You've
we're
heard
we're trying
correct.
to, yes, do more with less. So
Hmm.
um, let's let's think about what it is that we would love to do in our community
Okay,
that is challenging today, right? Can you host events easily? Can you do presentations? Can you do performances, and just get
right,
those on the table? Then we can get busy solving those problems as designers, right? Then we can say, well, if you want to do a host a meeting of this size, you kind of need a space like this,
right,
and start defining the spaces based upon what our needs are,
yeah,
and then we can figure out how to flex those because now we know what it is that a community wants to do.
yeah,
We can get busy solving that problem with a solution, not with product.
right. A question that's come up is what is a ballpark square footage for a server room or area? Is there a proximity to that server room that is
That is
optimal to
optimal.
have?
If we're talking about flex space, so from a for a server room, let's just take it from a pure physical plant. We've
Uh-huh.
got your main point of entry. That's where your carrier services, phone lines, internet come into. And then you have your main distribution feed. That would be your heart, your brains, your central area, I think, which is what Gail's referring to, the server room. Sometimes what we try to do, not sometimes, we try to make those rooms be the same because again, the cost per square foot, we don't want to drive the cost per square foot, so we try to combine those two rooms. So it really depends upon the community size and what's going to be going in there. But a rule of thumb is generally we target like a 10 by 10 or a 12 by 12
Yeah.
if you're talking about the main room
Yeah.
or a new
So,
construction.
okay. Good. Thank you for that question. Thank you, Matt, for
Yes,
answering
thank
that.
you.
So we've talked about the early conversations in these flex spaces and what is the whole entire picture of what is needed in each of these areas. What about designing for resident run flex spaces or having it be whatever technology would be good for the using something that maybe is intuitive, if that's even a stretch, for residents to use and even really staff. What's easy to use and
Right.
where do those conversations come in?
Well, um, the example that I was sharing with you about the auditorium,
Yep.
we were grilled by the resident AV committee. So
Okay.
it wasn't even the community. It was the resident council, the resident AV, and it wasn't one.
It
It was a
was,
circle of it was many, and it was and it was intense, right?
yeah,
And it certainly they had years of frustration of technology that would never
yeah.
work for them consistently, and the confidence was low, right?
Okay.
And they kept looking. They're like, "Tell us how to fix this," and we're like, "Well, first we need to know what it is that you want, right?
Okay.
Let's start there, and then we can solve the problem."
Okay.
So uh, we put in a system that is run by residents, right? This
Okay.
is a resident AV committee, and they're hosting performances. They're actually recording content. I think they've got 4 video cameras
Okay.
and they record. So in COVID, we deployed this system in May, June of 2020. It was put on hold because of COVID. And then they
Yeah.
called us back and realized, like, oh my gosh, you can come in and install if you'll come in and install because nobody's using the space. So it's not like we have
Sure.
to worry about it, right?
Yeah.
So we came in to install, and that equipped their teams to record, whether it was a workout, whether it was it allowed them to create content to push that content to the residents over the insertion channel, basically over the community channel that the community had. So
Yeah.
a resident would go and do an exercise routine. It would be recorded. They would then take that content and put it on to their community channel, all resident run.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that included microphone, that included cameras. So we created a video booth and we basically consolidated 2 racks of AV gear down to one.
Wow.
So it,
It's still
it's
simple
possible.
yet dynamic under the hood kind of thing. I mean, it's
Correct.
complicated, but it's made simple.
Right. Just because we're talking about seniors doesn't mean that we sacrifice performance, capability, quality,
Yeah.
right?
True.
No, it needs to. I mean, you've got audio files.
Yeah.
Like these people are not going to walk in and be like, well, I'm old. It's okay. I'm at the end of my
Yeah.
life. I'll tolerate poor quality just in sound. Like, no, you know, they now brag about their system and say you should come hear the performance. And it's only made, you know, it's exquisite to hear too in the space because now it can be heard.
That
Assisted
is
listening and yeah,
That's fantastic. It almost makes me think or makes me want to encourage this conversation to happen in early planning stages, regardless if they have their own internal in-house AV team, that
great.
where are these areas that could be ideal for residents to be able to use easily and have those conversations earlier too. I mean,
Yes, absolutely. That example scenario
yeah,
is is not limited to just an auditorium and how you use it for pre-recording stuff or streaming content or
sure.
doing live performances. It can be expanded to fitness areas,
Yeah,
workout rooms, activity areas, because you've got outside performers that are coming in too,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Not
true.
every one of them need to be in a formal auditorium setting.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
um, and then the other piece, I think, component to flex spaces is we're talking about communities on the senior living, assisted living side,
Yeah.
um, opposite of, or I don't say in contrast to skilled nursing facilities, right? Those
Hmm.
tend to be places that people don't really want to go visit, and in a senior living community, people want to drive community,
Yes.
so I think one of the attractive things about designing community is allowing outside people, public, to use those flex spaces,
Sure.
but they have to be able to be used. So if a community can open up and become another, meeting space,
Yeah.
Zoom space, it those that becomes a local community resource where other people are coming into the community, that's not just for the resident, right?
Right.
Drives interaction. So I know one of the hot buttons too was intergenerational, and I think that helps foster that.
That's true. It does. Uh, in these flex spaces, such as what you're talking about in an auditorium, would you prefer or would you favor, as the tech expert, having a tech room that controls all the audio and everything else in there, um, sound and micro, everything, physically within those larger spaces? Or could it be, since it's a flex space, maybe could it, is it ideal to have it outside of the room so that other people can
No,
access it, or is that pose a challenge?
no, it's a fair question. For the
Okay.
example that I was talking about where we did the auditorium,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they wanted to do video recording and that we
Yeah.
created a video booth. That video booth was specifically not in the room, right? It is separate. And so we leveraged the network. And so they can control the camera feed and which one is live and which one is panning and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's the answer is if you're really going for an auditorium and you need to do video, there would
Yeah.
certainly need to be a control booth room, but
Control booth
that
room.
control
Okay.
booth room would need to be
Just large
um
enough to have a person to be in
well,
there or not?
I mean,
I
from a
mean,
space
desk.
standpoint, that's if we're talking about renovation, it's kind of
Yeah.
like we look
Hard.
like this was we
Yeah.
weren't going and doing new construction. So what we did was we said, hey, we really need this,
Yeah.
right? And so we just found a space
Yeah.
and we worked with the community to make that space work. So I don't want folks here to think like, oh my gosh, now I need to go find a space. No, no, no. Again, start with defining what it is you
Yeah.
want to solve, and then we can get busy solving it. Um, so the other piece is it needs to be able to be used, right? So it
Yeah.
really the components, the system solution needs to be able to be resident driven, and
Yes.
it needs to be anybody driven. It needs to be not it needs to not require an AV engineer, I guess is the point, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes. Okay, we've got another question on here. What is your
yes.
opinion on the newer, smaller portable projectors? Actually, talk about that if you could. And also, too, what is the difference between a projector and a rear projector on the screen at the, if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So um, the technology advances all the time.
Yeah,
And just like the question states, newer, smaller portable projectors, as long as it is bright enough and meets the intended purpose. Are you talking about a portable projector to wheel out to a courtyard to do a screen on the green or a screen on the courtyard? Well, you need to make sure that it's bright enough to be visible during daylight hours. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait for dark,
so
right?
what's the terminology, or what's the language they're looking for to be bright enough? What would that be? A measure?
Lumens.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, I mean, just going to buy a projector is one component of solving that problem,
Ah, okay.
right? So if there's also the component of inside, like if you're going to use a small, lightweight projector and cart it throughout the community for just like a pop-up screen type of deal,
Yeah.
right? Well, you still have your mic and you still have your audio. How
Yeah.
is the sound going to get from that projector, that audio source, to your architecturally integrated speakers? That's a component. What we're seeing is more easily solved with a portable projector and a screen.
Okay.
but not as easily solved with microphone and audio.
What's the comparison for a ceiling mount projector versus a TV or, I mean, is there a better quality? Do you favor one over the other?
Well,
Or,
it typically comes down to size,
okay.
right? So if you've got a really, really large space, a projector tends to be the
I,
more affordable option to
oh,
achieve that
I see.
larger area space.
Okay.
Certainly you can get really large format, but it comes down to price performance, right? Like, are you going to be willing to drop $50,000 or, a large number to get a large, huge display screen?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Um, it used to be that the projector was the foregone conclusion for
Yeah.
achieving a large uh, display area, if you will. These days, with the price coming down on large TVs, I think the largest available TV, I think, is somewhere in the 90s. It might even be at 100.
Okay.
I don't have that 100%, but I know it's not much larger than that for a single TV panel that displays that size,
Yeah.
right? You can achieve larger with stitching ones together.
Okay. They commented or someone, yes, for interior use and mainly for a smaller flex space is the idea. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the
So if you're talking
commentary.
like absolutely like a tabletop projector or private dining room or something to
Yeah.
that effect where it's a smaller, absolutely. Those work great. And again, you can pair it with, there's some Bluetooth speakers that work great. We're a Bose commercial dealer. So there's certain things that can complement that well that help
Yeah.
flex those spaces, if you will.
There's just so much to review on flex spaces to me. I mean, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for technology. And again, like it's always changing and it's just and it's
There's
often
a
forgot about.
there's
So
a
it's
lot of options. I would agree. There's a
yeah,
ton of options, but um, we help our clients navigate those all the time.
much
So
needed.
I would say it's not like we have a canned solution sitting on a shelf that's we're just looking to sell. We have to collaborate to solve the problem that they have,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. Okay. We're going to give a chance for our next tech talk. We're going to give a chance. I know this is just a short, brief half hour of your day, and we want to hit you with as much information and as we possibly can. We want to give you as an audience, since this is in this different format, an opportunity to tell us what you want the next tech talk. What topic do you want to review? Do you want more on this
We're
topic
going to
of,
ask the audience.
yes, we are. Number one, let us know what you want for other topics. That you'll see a poll pop up on your screen hopefully soon here, and just answer. If there's some other topic that we haven't listed on there, type it into the chat. We want to hear it.
Hear Jill sing. That's one of them. I'll check
That
that one.
is that one of the
No,
choices? Hearing me sing. Let's talk about tech, baby.
baby,
The collaboration of Sage and Taz G. Yeah. I'll
all the
sing.
good
I'll
things
sing
and the
all the
bad
good
things.
things. No. Okay. So let us know what your answers are. And come on, you guys. This is a good we want this interaction. We want you to respond on that poll. So please just hit one of those responses and on there. While you are doing that, our next tech talk is going to be on December 14th, and we'll base the topic on what your responses are, if you have suggestions, and let us know also too on the survey that pops up after the completion if you like this format, if you have any other thoughts on there. Let's see. And also too, a reminder that our annual meeting is coming up. Let's pop that, Lori, let's pop that into the chat of our annual meeting. You'll find a link for that coming up. It's on December 5th, I believe. So if you register for that coming up, here's another question, Matt, real quick.
Actually, it's a topic, wasn't it?
Oh, it's a topic, lighting
Yeah,
options as a
got it.
as circadian rhythm. Good one. Thank you, Gil. Yes, good topic choices. Let's
All
make
right, this is
sure.
Lori, and we're going to close the poll in about 3 seconds. So if you haven't voted yet, please do so.
Absolutely. It's a din din din. Okay, good. There's our polls. Should get a summary of that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Matt,
Yes, thank you.
for joining us, because we love doing this with you. It's fun. We want to make it even more wild and crazy and make tech exciting for everyone and not scary.
Exciting.
Anyway, you'll get an email from us in the coming days with a link to today's recording, and then a link for the next session on December 14th. And hopefully you register for the next one. Any other closing thoughts, Matt?
Thank you for having me. And yes, we're going to be tech exciting and not tech scary.
That's right. Tech exciting. Love it. Bye, guys. Have a great day.